Stephen Manallack, Chairman Genesis India Australia Horticulture Collaboration Project, former President Australia India Business Council, author, business, life coach. He's done everything and continues to be one of the kindest people I have ever come across. Steve lights up the rooms he walks into, and the chances he's not been a major impact into the lives of the people in these rooms is bleak. I am so thrilled and so grateful to invite today Steve, my dear friend and an absolute legend, onto the Creating Kinder Content series for all of you today. Steve, thank you so much. Can you please start this beautiful, exciting podcast by introducing yourself to my audience in just 3 words? I know, 3 words that best describe you.
3 words?
Just 3 words.
That's too hard. Okay. I'm going to go family. I'm going to go India. And I have to put in golf. Family,
Amazing.
India, golf.
I think that is the best 3 words and a great summary of a life which I feel is very wholesome lived. I love that. But just so that our audience can learn this better, any of those 3 words given to you as a part of your childhood, or do you have any specific memories, or is it just a part of your growing up process? And why those 3 words?
I think I got everything from growing up in a big family. So we were 6 children, and we had a grandmother living with us. So that makes 9 people. And then my parents would take in what they called foster children. These were children with special needs. So there could often be 12 of us, and you can imagine it was very noisy, and we were always clamoring and wanting things. And my grandma, who was such a short person and so thin, but she'd always, particularly to me, when I was shouting a lot, she'd say, "Steve, tell me this. Why do you think the word listen, Listen, uses exactly the same letters as the word silent, Silent?" and
Wow.
at 10 or 11, I could not work that out, I have to tell you. but now in life, I think, wow, such wisdom from my grandma, that every now and then the most powerful thing we can do is just be quiet and listen to what's going on. So although I'm still learning the art of listening, I think I'm a lot better at it than I was when I was, say, 14 years old.
Wow, that is profound. And I think that's just, thank you for sharing this, because I think it's just so important that we, as we grow up in our lives, recognize the role family plays in who we become in our real lives as we grow up. Because grandparents, I think, huge amounts of experience. And so for everybody who has grandparents and is watching this, please go ask them many more questions. Ask the questions that we, shied away or didn't know, but like, go and ask them more questions. Please spend more time. And you said India and golf. Oh, and before I actually skip over to your parents for, taking on more than they were gifted with, I think that, of course, is a great, huge takeaway as well for, a couple to sort of want to give more, much more than they could take on. I thought that was a great learning experience as well. And you said it would become noisy, but at any point in life with your own 6 siblings, did you guys feel like, why are we doing this? Or like, what was your takeaway as a child as you were growing up, like in your formative years?
Yeah, well, I must admit, growing up in a Western culture, I'm not saying my family was poor, but we didn't have a lot of money. So as children, we used to wear secondhand shoes to school. That's not really a hardship when I look back on it now, but
Yeah.
I'd say to my 13 or 14-year-old self, Steve, please feel grateful that someone's taken the trouble to give you even a used pair of shoes. So when I was young, I have to confess, I felt a little bit of envy towards the families who I thought were richer than we were. And that's a feeling that has stayed with me right through my life. And I have to remind myself, be content with what I have, be grateful for what I have. So some of those learnings they actually go through your whole life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so grateful that you're sharing that with such honesty, because I think, yeah, we do not take things we have and be grateful for them. Instead, we start taking them for granted. And I think
Yeah.
just when the universe hears that, they're just like, no, you've got to learn how to earn these things before you get to your next prize. But India and golf, can we please elaborate?
Well, India's been my teacher since I was about 17 or 18 years old. I was very good at studying history. And so at university, I majored in Indian history. And I learned about this amazing person called Mahatma Gandhi. And I've had the good fortune in later life to visit where he stayed in a house in Mumbai, and also his ashram in, I think, Ahmedabad.
Yeah.
But the thing was that this Indian man influenced so many people, even today, throughout the world. Can you imagine that? I'm always staggered when I think of it. And so for me, growing up, it was a time of some turbulence in society because we were engaged in a war that we did not want to be. That was called the Vietnam War. So most people won't remember it, but it was very strong at that time. And from Gandhi, we learned, even though you feel as if you're right, don't harm anybody, don't hurt anybody, do your protest peacefully. And that's a staggeringly insightful teaching from that great Indian. So that's just a little glimpse of so much that I've learned. And so many other teachers have been very kind. Whether it's there are so many. And whenever I go to India, people always engage in discussions about the meaning of life or the source of happiness. And I have to tell you, we don't often have discussions about that here in the West. So I'm grateful to India for that.
I love that. I love that. And where do you tee in golf there? Like, is that how you wake up every morning with the right shot, or like just 18 power holes every morning?
Well, I'm fortunate to play golf, but I'm not very good at it. But I do enjoy it.
The funny thing is, every golfer says that about himself. I'm not great at it. I'm sure even Tiger Woods probably says, I'm not great at it.
But the other thing I often think about when I'm playing golf, you've seen golf courses, they're beautiful places. They've got trees, they've got bushes, they've got birds, they've got lovely cut grass. What a fortunate person I am to be standing in the middle of that, in the middle of the day, playing around a golf, and then I'm thinking, now I've got to do a Zoom meeting, or now I've got to do an interview. And how good is that? I love it. That is a
great life. Yeah, that is. I think, and for me, I think I got into golf because of my dad. Like all the other great things in my life. I mean, my mom as well, but dad. And I do think golf is meditative. Like I got into golf after tennis, and at the start I was like, what is this like? This one hit and like the ball takes its own course, as opposed to tennis where you're like controlling every move and it comes back very quickly. But I think golf is meditative. Yeah.
Well, when you think about tennis, even and you've played a lot of tennis, you're constantly being challenged, and you either hit a great shot or you hit an out shot.
Yeah.
And the difference between one and the other might be that much or even less,
Yeah.
And so the good tennis players who go on to succeed, Roger Federer, good example, Steffi Graf, all of these people, wonderful. When they hit a shot out or hit it into the net, they did not linger in that moment.
Yeah, yeah.
They had the mind skill to move on to the next thing. Yeah. Do you agree?
Absolutely. I think it's such an important point to raise when we're talking about life, because golf, for example, or tennis and any other sport, I feel like it's so important to put your kids or anyone into sport, because I think it builds character. And when I say builds character, it builds what you just said about being able to tune your inside to your outside, and not like and your successes and your failures to be weighed equally, so that everything is just, you keep passing, but what matters is how are you breathing, are you in tune with your mind and your soul
Yeah.
and your physical body, are all those three things breathing? Because you're breathing, I mean, I remember talking to also a shooter, and I didn't think that was ever going to pop up in a shooter sport, but he said, the moment I'm not breathing fine, I know I've lost the shot.
Ah,
And I was like, that's it. And he goes, yeah, if I'm not holding my breath down and I
yeah.
trigger, which is such a large statement to make in reference to life, right? The moment I'm not holding my breath and I trigger, I've lost the plot. So I think that is yeah. Well, now, so I think we're starting off really well, and this could turn into another podcast for sure. But is there ever been an experience of random act of kindness? I know you brought up your grandmom and you said listen and silent, and I think that's of course left a huge impact on you.
Yeah.
Um, but can you remember one of those experiences where you were made to feel extremely, extremely supported, or someone really kind happened to you, and you just all your life have held on to it, and I mean, everything you do, you try and be like, on a good day or a bad day, be like, I wish I could make someone else feel that way. Could you share that experience with us?
Well, I did have such an experience at a very low point in my life. Um, uh, in the early 1990s, I was in business and very successful, and there was a global recession. These things happen. Life changes, ups and downs. That's life. And my business totally collapsed. Now, before I go on, I'll just say to everyone, life is fine. We recovered. We're okay.
Yeah.
but when you lose everything, it's not a good feeling. And I remember going to a industry meeting just before Christmas one year in the city, and I was at a low esteem because the business had failed. And the mistake I made was, well, if the business failed, I must be a failure.
Mm,
I learned later that that's such a mistake,
yeah.
that failure is just part of life and it's never you, it's never me. But I felt at that time it was me.
Yeah.
And the person sitting next to me at the end of the function said, Steve, come over here. And we went to a corner of the room and he put his hand on my shoulder and he just said quietly, I hope next year is better for you. And I can
Wow.
remember that today as if it's happening now, because for me, that was the beginning of turning around. That
Yeah.
was the beginning of rediscovering myself and feeling, yes, I am actually entitled to have a good year.
Yeah.
I can do this, I can build this, and I can distinguish between, sure, my business failed in night, but I can rebuild it. It's
Yeah.
not that I'm a failure, I can rebuild it. So that one comment, I have to tell you, is the most powerful but simple, kind message. Steve, I hope this year is a better one for you.
Yeah.
It's so simple to do, but it touched me right to the heart. And I think it was the beginning of
Yeah.
me finding a new way forward and a new future. So in that sense, I've seen kindness. I felt it.
Yeah.
It literally changed my life.
Amazing. I love that. And I also like the trajectory of you saying, like, when you hit the shot in the net, you don't linger. And
Yeah.
someone basically, you had a bad shot and you were trying to think of how to hit, maybe not even to play. Like, should I just not be on court right now? And someone just said, no, go pick up the ball and learn how to practice again. And yeah,
Yeah.
I think that I think is amazing. I really also would like for you to expand for the audience who's watching when you said I felt it, because I'm strongly someone who believes in um, words are important. Kind words are really important. Actions are, of course, like, they back your words. But I think human beings, to a large extent, you can correct me if I'm wrong, really function on energy. Like you can either feel it or you don't feel it. And I would want you to throw light on that thought of mine with your experience.
Yeah, I think I agree entirely with you. You know, we human beings, um, we're unusual. I think we've got the capacity, in one sense, to think too much.
Yeah.
But I'm only joking there, because it's important. It's important we use this instrument we've got.
Yeah.
But we can often use that instrument, the brain, to create doubts in our mind.
Yeah.
And you know, the importance of understanding that, firstly, as humans, our life is so precious. It is so precious. And we are each very special. Every single person has something to contribute. That's wonderful. And then that we gather as social beings. We don't live alone.
Yeah.
If we fought each other all the time, or if we were sending rude messages to each other, or if we spread hatred and toxicity around, then eventually we would have no community.
Yeah.
And it's the community that we gain our strength from. So I think these things are critically important, don't you?
I absolutely agree. In fact, that was going to be my next question, because I wanted to know what you think was going to be the impact of people just being kind to each other, and how that probably impacts in creating community and cultures and retaining culture just through little acts of kindness. Because I feel like in this interconnected, interpersonal world that we live in, and because narrative is now largely, controlled by either like economic growth or political growth or religious growth, I see a lot of people trying to sort of, one up the other religion. But I think if we just sort of go down to the grassroots of whatever religion is trying to teach us, whichever it is, at the core root of it, it teaches you to be kind. It teaches you to be kind to yourself and outside. And then, the impact that kindness or the act of kindness can have on somebody, and then also on your own well-being, like the person who's actually being kind. Like, I think I want you to also sort of like share with me how you think could probably be the right so like, how we're like growing into this, I give you this transactional world, but I'm being kind to you. What am I gaining out of it? Like, what impact does it have on the person who's giving kindness?
Ah, there's the great secret, right? This is one of the least understood secrets in life. If I am acting kindly towards another person, it might help them, but it will certainly benefit me.
I love
And
that. I love that.
yeah, it's just such and I I think this should be taught in business schools and colleges and universities, that the more I'm concerned about the happiness and well-being of the other person, the more I have happiness and well-being myself.
Yeah.
And you think about what an attractive quality that is in a person.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a powerful thing. We can sense it. Human beings are very good at sensing it. And if we see someone who is happy, content, has gratitude, but also is a kind person, that makes them incredibly attractive, good friends, to us.
Sustainable
So,
friends. Yeah.
yeah. So I think, look, if you've ever volunteered in a group and gone out and planted some trees, or you've made some food and given it to some people who need food,
Yeah.
you have the same experience. You actually feel wonderful at the end of that day because you could help someone else. So I think we just can apply this much more on a day-to-day basis in our lives by being kind in everything.
Yeah. And before we move on to our rapid fire question space, would you have maybe like you've mentioned, planting trees, or like, going out with friends and being, supportive, etc. Daily activities, micro daily activities of kindness that you think could become much more prominent, or are not being taken as seriously as they should be taken in our everyday lives, that could impact all of us largely? Yeah.
Okay, I think the most micro wonderful activity is to smile.
That is great. That is great. Yeah, no, I think we're going to have to, I think, Steve, expand this into a larger podcast, because I think every point that we're sort of working on is such great experience that is coming from you. So I really want to learn more. But moving on to our next segment, I would want to ask you questions, and you'd want to give me quick answers. I call them a rapid fire, but it's just overused. But the essence is whatever comes to your mind first, right?
Okay.
Do you have a go-to kindness quote or a motto that inspires you?
Never give up.
Amazing, amazing. All right, now, if kindness had a color, what color would it be, and why?
Do you know, I think oh, I'm tossing up in my mind.
Faster, faster, faster.
Okay, faster. It'll be white.
And why?
Because white feels good. It's pure. It's lovely.
Amazing. All right, then, if kindness was food, what palette, flavor, texture, and why?
Dosa masala.
I love that. Oh, wow. Okay, I think our South Indian community is going to dig on, and all the dosa lovers not from the South as well. But why? Like, do you want to expand on that?
Well, it's just such a beautiful thing. And I was sitting in a hotel in Chennai, and an American couple
they do
came
such
in
good
and they
dosas.
ordered a Western style breakfast.
Yeah.
And I had my dosa masala, and I was eating it, and they said, "Excuse me, what is that?" And I said, "Well, why don't you taste it?" And they
Yeah,
tasted it.
sweet.
They tasted it, and they ordered one as well.
Yeah. So you mean kindness is dosa masala with all the condiments that come along, right? Like
Yeah,
the whole.
yeah,
Yeah. Great. All right. Um,
everything.
if kindness was a sound, what sound would it make?
It would be like a beautiful symphony, a relaxing violin concerto.
Interesting. Now, my next question would be, if you could create an international holiday dedicated to kindness, you're in charge, right? So this is big responsibility. What would that day be called, and what would people be doing on this day globally?
Well, I think I think I would call it a smile day. And I don't think it would be a holiday. I think it'd be better if we went through our daily life, except we smiled at everyone we saw, and we spread some joy around. Make someone a cup of tea. Ask someone how they're going. Can you help? These are wonderful things. People love that.
So you've basically summarized for me how I was made to feel every single day while I was living in Australia. Like, it's the one thing.
Oh.
It's the one thing that I have adored about my experience of my second home, which is Australia. Because I remember this very, very, okay, I'm skipping off to the rapid fire, but I think it's important to share. And if this person's listening, weird chances. There was a gentleman who would cross gates every day when I was leaving from college and going to university. And it was not just me, it was a lot of other friends, because we would leave at the same time. And if I'm not mistaken, he was most likely a professor, because he had a time that he would leave as well. And he would smile every day. And there were times when, like, we were leaving university, college, and like he'd be like, I hope you're having a good day, or like he could sense, and then he would stop the next day and ask, was everything okay? You look a bit flustered. And it was all in passing, right? And then one day this gentleman left, like we didn't know what happened. He got transferred or moved countries or whatever. But we saw a little post-it on our door that said, come what may, never forget to smile. See you somewhere in the world. And I was just like, like, we don't even know each other's names, but the thought of we'd probably be looking for this person, or that smile will be missed, or it was mutual. Oh, that is one of the hardest goodbyes, but I hope they're watching. Anyway, we're going to move on to our next question, and we're hoping that this person finds us. If you do, please comment. But if you had the ability or the superpower to make people instantly burst into laughter or instantly feel loved and cared for, Steve, which one would you pick and why?
Well, I think loved and cared for. And I think we, as you would know in the West, people are very deluded about what love really means. They think love conquers all. Love is something I'll find in another person, but love is something you find in your own heart.
I love
And
that. Yeah.
yeah, and it's that wish. Love is the wish for other people to be happy. So if I want you to be happy, I have to be kind. It's as simple as that.
Amazing, amazing. I love that. And I am so conscious of the energies that you've come in with. I am really appreciative of also for you making the time, because for everybody who doesn't know, Steve has been one of my biggest, I've been stalking Steve forever. And for him to be able to sitting across and doing this with me at a time zone that works for the both of us and sharing just our mutual love for kindness, I think it means the world to me. And so that I don't make you feel depleted, if there was anything that I could do for you today, if there was a feedback, or if there was a question that you could ask me, this is your moment so that I can give back to the energies you've poured into us. Would you like to ask anything?
Well, I would like to ask you to please continue, please continue to spread kindness, and because it's important we think about it, and I think when you think back on your younger years, do you remember acts of kindness the most, or do you remember acts of nastiness or of rudeness most? What do you think?
Well, I think, yeah, no, I'm going to stick to the first half, and I'm really grateful that you're on this journey with me, because it's a conscious reminder of the long-lasting impact of holding on to kindness, and kindness finding the right energies, irrespective of where we are, and borders and religion and age and culture and gender and all of that. So I'm really grateful for that. But I think you're right. I think for me, I think for anybody, on the days that matter the most, or the days where you're actually looking to get that extra kick, the one thing that matters to me personally would be the acts of kindness, because I think the rudeness, the nastiness are all forgivable acts, because you can find love in yourself, and you can recognize when you find love in yourself why someone would probably be behaving the way they are, and then you can excuse them or forgive them, and maybe even try and go and be nice to them the next time. I'm sure we have friends and family, and who are having a bad day, or not just having a continuous bad week, or sometimes bad months in a bad year. But I think just support and being there, and like you said, love conquers all. I also would like to add that I think love is oversold as it fixes everything. I feel like love doesn't fix anything. It basically teaches you how to find love in yourself to be able to love someone better. And as long as you can find someone who can support you through love, that is how it conquers all, because now you're not struggling alone. There's someone who's patient enough to say, okay, you're wrong here, or you're great here, so let's make notes and try and work on the strengths and fix the problems together. So I think love conquers all when you're truly able to love yourself and be kind to the world around you. So yeah, I think that would be, yeah.
Well, it's so important, and if we understand that really the meaning of love is to wish the happiness of the other person.
Yeah.
And most of us, particularly in the West, believe that I will be happy if I find someone who loves me. We've got it the wrong way around. It's if I'm happy, if I have contentment and gratitude, I become a very interesting and attractive person, and relationships do grow out of that. And then if my commitment is to make the people I'm having relationship with be happier people, to live full and happy lives, that's wonderful. It's such a solid foundation, isn't it, for going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I love this. I hope we can get to expand more conversations, but unfortunately for this particular episode, we've come to the end. Thank you so much, Steve, for being on the Creating Kinder Content series, and I look forward to sharing this with all my audience. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Very kind to invite me.
The pleasure is all mine. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.